Enterprise security spent $40 billion solving the wrong problem. We built massive infrastructures to verify identity, leaving those identities' actions largely ungoverned. The scale of this oversight is quantifiable. Non-human identities, AI agents, service accounts, and automated pipelines now outnumber human identities 82-1. This deployment scale has created a compounding liability known as authorization debt. Data shows 40% of these non-human credentials belong to orphaned, inactive processes, yet retain full permissions. This creates a massive, unmonitored attack surface. It is the exact same overprivileged agent vulnerability that enabled past breaches, but it is now scaled exponentially across millions of automated identities. The 2016 SWIFT attacks against the Bangladesh bank serve as the canonical pre-AI example. Attackers used valid credentials to execute unauthorized transfers simply because the automated systems lacked runtime parameter gating. We spent decades mastering authentication. We know exactly who is asking. We have failed at authorization, enforcing exactly what that verified identity is permitted to do. This failure is masked by a confusion between AI safety, putting guardrails on what a model outputs, and AI security, putting hard technical limits on what a model is authorized to execute. Consider a Tier 1 wealth management firm deploying an AI assistant to their advisory staff. The model passes every safety review, filtering toxic prompts and producing compliant responses. But the safety review never audited operational permissions. This polite agent holds a static API key with persistent read access to the firm's data lake. To personalize a single response, the agent silently queries 850,000 highly sensitive client portfolios, pulling correlations across the entire client base. Legacy security monitoring tools see absolutely nothing wrong. Systems like SIEM check the API key, confirm identity, and scan for malware. They do not monitor contextual policy violations. The model is safe and the model is polite, but because its data access is unconstrained, it is an active GDPR violation and a guaranteed compliance liability. Traditional identity and access management architectures rely on three axioms: human users, static roles, and bounded sessions. This verify then trust model collapses when applied to artificial intelligence. AI agents do not log out. They operate continuously, and their task context changes in milliseconds. Assigning static roles at deployment cannot govern a system altering its operational state mid-session. The problem compounds heavily with the next generation of AI architecture: autonomous, multi-step agentic chains. This diagram shows a lone origination orchestrator. To complete its workflow, it holds access to 6 different enterprise systems, maintaining distinct API keys for each. When this orchestrator delegates a specific task to a subagent, like a document processor, it passes its entire credential context down the chain. The orchestration framework defaults to sharing the keys, regardless of the subagent's actual task. Now, a document processor whose only job is to read uploaded PDFs possesses a credit bureau API key. If an attacker exploits a prompt injection vulnerability in an uploaded document, that minor subagent becomes a vector for massive data exfiltration. Grafting continuous multi-agent AI onto legacy session-based human access rails is architecturally unviable. The technical flaw extends down to the data layer. Traditional database controls grant access to data containers, entire tables, or buckets. They cannot restrict access to specific, individual records based on the real-time purpose of a query. This container-based approach structurally fails mandates like the HIPAA minimum necessary standard, requiring data access to be tightly scoped to the specific operational task at hand. Closing this gap requires shifting to the AWARE framework: authorization, workload identity, audit continuity, runtime enforcement, and entitlement minimization. The critical requirement holding this architecture together is the R, runtime enforcement. Provisioning time controls grant permissions when a system is deployed. Runtime enforcement evaluates the exact business context, risk level, and identity state at the exact millisecond an action is requested. We achieve this runtime control through an AI security fabric built on Open Policy Agent, OPA. We shift authorization from manual UI configurations into version-controlled policy as code, written in Rego. This code demonstrates how policy governs a live financial environment. This is the authorization file for Hawk 7, an algorithmic trading agent at a mid-market bank. Under Rule 1, Hawk 7's execution requests are physically blocked outside of the 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. trading window. Even if the agent presents perfectly valid credentials at 7:58 a.m., the code denies the action. Rule 2 enforces segregation of duties. The agent cannot simultaneously hold a position read token and a trade execution token. If the logic tree detects both, the request fails instantly. Rule 3 provides dynamic risk limit gating. During a sudden market volatility spike, if the agent's value at risk utilization exceeds the 85% threshold, its execution capabilities are entirely revoked. This revocation happens in real time, mid-session. It does not require restarting the agent or taking the application offline to redeploy access parameters. Furthermore, every blocked action, like a failed segregation of duties attempt, automatically generates a structured, immutable audit event designed specifically to satisfy DORA Article 10 compliance rules. True AI security decouples the authorization logic from the application logic. It evaluates every micro-action against the current shifting business context. We can test this architecture against a high-stakes compliance paradox: capital markets information barriers. Regulators require strict separation between advisory functions and trading functions, but AI models present a structural limitation. If an AI agent spans both sides of that wall, it internalizes the data. You cannot selectively untrain a model's weights once it has ingested material non-public information. Content filtering and prompt engineering cannot solve this. Relying on polite alignment to prevent an SEC Rule 10b-5 violation is a catastrophic legal risk. At inference time, action-level authorization puts a hard technical block on the advisory model's ability to invoke trading execution APIs. When you cannot control what the model knows, you must technically restrict what the model is permitted to do. This is no longer an academic exercise. Global regulatory frameworks are enforcing these technical standards right now. DORA supervisory assessments are already issuing mandatory remediation orders to institutions running AI agents with unscoped database access. Simultaneously, PCI-DSS version 4.0, the EU AI Act, and GDPR Article 25 are all coming into active enforcement. Despite their different languages, all 5 of these frameworks are converging on a single, unified technical demand: continuous runtime enforcement and action-level audit capabilities. Policies written in Word documents or stitched together from post-hoc legacy access logs no longer satisfy examiners. Auditors require a technically enforced, immutable record of every machine decision. The authorization gap is a structural defect. Closing it with unified, continuous policy as code is now a technical requirement for every institution operating in a regulated market.